Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 592, recorded live on Sunday, March 8th. I'm your host, Patrick. With me this week, we have returning to the show, Nimvind.
Merry Nimbus.
Welcome back, sir. This week's screenshot, Zendosis, celebrates DDO's 14th anniversary in the 454th screenshot of the week. Thanks, Zendosis, for sending in this week's screenshot. I'm trying to think of... It doesn't really seem to be anything like anniversary theme there, just someone dancing in front of a tree stump. I'm thinking
Those are the standing stones in the borderland.
Oh, okay. I see it. Got it. I get it. I didn't realize that was a thing. I recognize it as being in the Borderlands based on the artistic treatment, but didn't see the standing stones there. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a what should I call it, an explorer.
Right. I found a path to kill stuff to get feathers, and that's about as much exploring as I've really done in there, other than to get to the quest. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can watch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website, DDOcast.com. DDOcast is hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network, and shows are usually available within a few days of recording. The next show will probably be next weekend, and you can stay updated by following us on our social media pages or our website, DDOcast.com, with our calendar. On the podcast this week, we got some fun stuff to talk about. It's mostly going to be a news show, but we're going to kind of take some time to unpack a bunch of the stuff that came out of PAX East last weekend. We didn't have a show last weekend, and some of that stuff kind of filtered out throughout the week as well, at least the ones that I saw. But we're going to dive into some of the stuff that they talked about. Severalin had an interview, and they also had a Q&A that was recorded and posted on by some, I think it was, I can't remember his name, I didn't write it down. But at the Friday meetup, so there's some stuff there. That stuff also included news about Lotro, which we're not going to cover because this is DDOcast. But if you're interested, I know a lot of players play both, but if you're interested in the Lotro, check that out as well. You can also check out DDO Players News, also kind of talked about both a little bit more than we're going to, so. Right, with that, shall we jump into game news? A couple of things to touch upon. We'll start with two-handed fighting. They did some more kind of tweaks and changes in some of the updates that came out, which we'll also be talking about. But in Update 45, several two-handed fighting animations had their sizes increased to a further distance. Out in front of you, no hitboxes had their size reduced in the past. That said, the width, the left-right of the character, of some of them still matches the old animations in places, and they're increasing the width for quite a few two-handed fighting hitbox in an upcoming patch, which I think did come out. So, there you go. The 14th anniversary event. To celebrate the 14th anniversary, they're giving all of our players a 14th anniversary Dragon Sentient Jewel. So this is a sentient jewel of the dragon. The coupon code for that is Happy14. It can be redeemed once per account, so make sure you redeem the code on the server you wish to have the sentient jewel on. It is bound to account, and it can be redeemed through December 31st, 2020. So a long time to redeem this. Some notes they put on. Remember, this code can be redeemed once per account, not once per account per server. Redeem the coupon code on the server of your choice. It can be redeemed on the hardcore server if you want. Obviously, be careful if the character dies to transfer it to the right place afterwards. The jewel did have a temporary bug where it could be accidentally sold at a vendor. Don't do that.
Definitely don't.
Well,
You only get one.
Yeah, and then they said the item will not be replaced by customer service. I'm like, ooh. I mean, if you can see it in their buyback, just like give it back to them, right? I don't know. They did fix this though. This item, as with all gems, is a minimum level 20, but it can be acquired by a character of any level. And then they noted that the voice work is done by the one and only Cindy Robinson, who has done frequently popular work with us for years now, including Menace of the Underdark, Most of the Kobolds, and more. Hope you like it. I haven't actually slotted it. I haven't actually even gotten it yet. Uh,
I slotted it, but that's it. Like I didn't hear the rest, but like it did roar at me when I put it in a weapon.
oh yeah. Uh, the the one thing that I'm kind of about this is, I mean, this means we're only gonna like. I would like it to be more. I would like the Sentient Jewel of the Dragon to be more available. I think that's kind of the big thing for me. Like, this seems like the only time we're gonna get it is through this promotion, and you're only gonna get one. Like this, I don't know. A Sentient Jewel of the Dragon just seems like such an iconic jewel, like a voice, right, to have in the game. To only
Yeah,
ever be able to have one, I'm not excited about.
like the game's called Dungeons and Dragons.
Right?
Yeah, but like I noticed that like a lot of older players are kind of upset with how the anniversary distribution has changed, and it's because they're used to getting like a cake on every tune or this and that. Like there, it's not just you get a single item, right? And that's all your account gets, and to be careful where you claim it and all this and that. Like it's just different. You know what I mean? It's just a change up, but I think they're pretty much saying this is the expectation now we're having for this present, and it's different than the past.
I mean, I can kind of see what you're saying. I don't really buy into this that as a being an issue a whole lot, simply because it has changed many times. Like it's, I don't see this as being something consistent, right? Some years it's been something for every character, and they're kind of less. Some years it's been something like you get once. Uh, the 10th anniversary, they kind of went a little bigger with it. Uh, so they kind of made it more of a thing, and they gave us a really nice gift that year. And then of course the next year everyone's like, well, this gift stinks compared to last year. Well, yeah, last year was the 10th anniversary year. They made it a bigger thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't personally read into a lot of from year to year. It just depends on what's going on. Um, I like the idea of giving us a sentient jewel. Like I'm fine with that. I'm just kind of the mind that pick something more. And I don't know if there is one to pick, but I'm not super excited about the idea of here's a sentient jewel of the dragon, and possibly it's the only time you're going to be able to get a sentient jewel of the dragon.
Yeah, my gripe about the specific sentient jewel of the dragon is I believe like that was something that they said in a producer note we were gonna get like when they announced White Plume Mountain, and then they're like, "Ooh, you only get one now, and it's an anniversary event, and that's how we're gonna give it to you." But I'm like, I thought it was gonna be something you can get um in the White Plume Mountain. Like it was announced about the same time, so I was assuming that I was gonna get it that year.
I mean, I think like it'd be. And this doesn't mean that they're not going to provide other ways to do it. An obvious choice, well, what I would say is, okay, we'll add another reward account reward for Monster Manual for Dragon. Get one that way.
That'd
Um,
be nice.
right? I'm also of the mind that I'm kind of still a little irked about the fact that there's a sentient jewel in Strahd, the Strahd raid, that you can only get as a super rare drop in that raid. You can't buy it any way. Um, I kind of have the same ancillary issue with there's a gelatinous cube in
Yeah, I
Caught
was
in the
about to
Web,
say
and it's Caught in the Web and Fall of
Full
Truth.
of Truth. Yeah,
I would like to see a way that you could, if you want something. I really like the way that we've kind of gone towards this idea, particularly with raids, that if you want something out of the raid, if you run it X number of times, you will get it. Right? Like I like that as a mechanic a lot. I don't care if these super rare things in those raids are you have to run it you have to get twice as many raid runes as you would for a normal item. Fine. Like, I don't have an issue with variable buy amounts on that stuff. As long as the items are all the same and can get them in 20. Like, I like the 20 runs, and I also like that if you run them on hard or elite, you get more runes to get there faster. I like all of these things, but I don't know. I also kind of think they should put tomes in those lists, but I know why they don't. And I'm not super concerned about it. But you can also buy a tome. You can't get these other items any other way, and that's what kind of works me off a little bit.
Isn't that what we used to do raids for back when 20 was a cap? We
get the
used to
thing you
run
wanted.
it a bunch of times just to get a tome or named
Yeah.
item. I remember running Shroud because it would give tomes.
Yeah, it still does. And a lot of not Temple, Tower of Despair, you could get a +4 tome in that 20th end reward list. They don't really give you that option, and they haven't given us that option for a raid for a long time. They still drop in there, but you can't buy them with a 20th completion kind of a thing. Which, I kind of wish you could. I understand why they don't, because tomes are a big money maker.
Yeah.
But I think it definitely helps with the raiding scene. Because, you can always use more tomes, right? Although
Always.
less so now that I think people have. I mean, we're talking about back in the day when people ran more characters. As we've gone on, just the way the mechanics work with more reincarnations, Reaper XP, people are focusing on fewer and fewer characters. So,
Yeah, that's true. Back when 20 was the cap and the scene was how it was before. You used to be able to have multiple alts with just very few past lives and still be effective. It's getting harder and harder to do that nowadays.
At least if you want to be doing some higher level stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the anniversary gift. It's a nice gift. I just hope you can get more dragon gems later. Let's see. Vance wrote, this is one of the devs, just to clear up some confusion, this is about copying a character to the same server is not something they could currently do without engineering work. They're only able to copy a character to a different server because they share the same unique character ID and name. Almost any of the systems mentioned in this thread would require some sort of code to get working. That being said, there are some great ideas. They just have a packed schedule this year for our engineers between supporting all the new systems in our expansion and server consolidation work. Means they're working on it, or will be working on it. Like, it's on the schedule, which is really why I grabbed this quote.
Wow.
Yeah, we're going to come back to server consolidation when we start talking about PAX East news.
Yeah. And
But
possibly even tomes.
But in any case, I just thought it was really interesting here that this is, I think, the first real indication that server consolidation is on the schedule, or they are already working on it. Like, as opposed to we plan to, we may be kind of like this. Seems to indicate that. I mean, again, things can change all the time. But server consolidation work seems to be something that they are actually looking at really concretely doing this year. So cool. We'll come back to it. Update 45, patch 2 was released on Wednesday, February 26th. So we'll go through some of these things. Cleave, Great Cleave, Supreme Cleave, Whirlwind Attack, Chalice Cleave stuff, a whole bunch of stuff. Now use your Smite Evils, Poison Shot. Now use your entire attack speed when calculating their attack speed. Cool. So I'm assuming this means that they should attack faster.
Yeah.
Because it's been a thing for a long time that it was considered not a good thing to cleave during like a boss fight because it actually reduced your DPS. So that's great that they're removing that. They added a small delay between equipping a weapon and receiving the effects of the two-handed fighting feats and some favored weapon bonuses to alleviate performance issues around swapping weapons. I'm guessing there was like a runaway effect if you just kept switching weapons really fast. The hit detection on all non-mobile greatsword two-handed fighting animations is now significantly wider. The same is also true for the second and third non-mobile great axe animations, and for all four wild bear or bear shape non-mobile animations, and the first and second quarterstaff attack animations. They're all slightly wider. So let's see.
That's great for wild bears.
Yeah, I've noticed it actually. It's pretty wide now.
Yeah, no,
So
I around this time I was playing a bear druid and it was great.
I did grab a note from one of the devs. I think this was from Steelstar. He said he just wanted to pop in and say that after looking at it in depth, this is about the attack speed. It is doing exactly what it's meant to, scaling with your attack speed. That does mean that in some situations, a lower base attack bonus, lower alacrity bonuses, you are slower than previously unmodified version, as that's what your current attack speed modifiers do to it. That said, they recognize it's not necessarily ideal. They're discussing it, but don't have anything concrete to share at this time. So, in general, the attack speed thing with all those special attacks is faster, but if you are low on the attack speed chart, you are actually going or slower with those attacks. So, let's see other things. Fixed a couple of things with enhancements. With aim shot being able to add multiple stacks of archer's focus and lead the charge, now targeting breakables. Shirahdi champion stand and deliver now works correctly even when toggling ranged stances on and off. Let's see. They changed a couple of feats and added some feats for alchemist, so they can now get empower healing as a class feat at 4, accelerate spell meta magic at 8. See, they fixed some stuff with Smite Evil. I like the Smite Evil and Exalted Smite now lock you into the animation for a shorter period of time. That's always nice. Archer's Focus and Improved Archer's Focus no longer have a cooldown on ranged power buffs and can stack more quickly, so that's nice. Activating charge abilities or attacks will now remove you from your mounts. I think that was actually like hit or miss. Some of them did, and some of them didn't.
Yeah.
Let's see, Eretricos replaced Mortality. I'm not sure if I want to talk about that now or later. I can't remember if we talked about it last time. So Eretricos replaced Mortality for the hardcore vendor. You know what? We'll come back to that because that's in the PAX East stuff as well.
All right.
Capine Drop Axe has returned to her usual place outside the leaky dinghy in the harbor. This is an NPC that redeems an old PAX East reward from 2011, which some veteran players can still redeem. Yay, I can redeem it again.
Yep.
It's not really, it's not a whole lot. The first time you do it on a server, I think you get 2 greater XP potions, a Slayer pot, and a crafting XP elixir. Maybe
Yeah.
something else. And then after that, you get less. Most of it's bound to character stuff, so not a super thing, anyways. But note to self: go redeem that on each server before I completely vacate it when we server consolidate.
Yeah. Right.
Because there is a couple things there that are bound to account. Let's see, quests and adventure areas. They fixed some typos. Fixed some string table errors in the Borderlands Slayer stuff. Fixed 2 stuck spots and 2 hot to handle. There's no longer a stuck spot near Cookie Kobold in the Anniversary Party Challenge. Given that Cookie Kobold used to run the Lamania preview stuff, that's kind of funny.
Yeah. Right.
Let's see. Load screen for Dryden's Chamber was updated. They fixed some stuff with the Soul Splitter. Let's see. Just trying to see if there's anything in there. Visual effects have been added to items players need to destroy in the end boss room once the objective becomes active in Soul Splitter. Yeah, that one was kind of tricky to figure out some of that stuff. Dragonborn females will no longer fall through horses while drinking a potion. I wish I would have seen this. I have so many questions about it. Like, do they get back on the horse? Um, let's see. Fix some stuff with alchemist spells. And Stalwart Pact and Righteous Command. Melt Lock no longer uses a projectile and simply allows you to cast it on a targeted locked object at touch range. It now costs 12 spell points, which is less than Knock, but the range is shorter. So that's kind of what they did there.
And it works fantastic now.
Right. There's a question in the chat. I'll throw out here. Jack Roma asks, how do you feel about Renew or Favorite Soul beacons hitting undead? I wasn't aware that Renew did. The beacons I have no problem with. It's doesn't really. I don't find that they tend to do much damage relative to other options and other classes, but it's always been a thing that positive damage is undead and negative heals undead, and vice versa with living creatures. So
Yeah, it always sucks fighting undead and like you're targeting them and then you throw a heal on yourself, but it goes on them.
I mean, that's always kind of annoying. But I don't really know a good workaround for that because I have been in places where it's like this undead is almost dead. I have an SLA for heal. I'm gonna kill it.
Yeah.
So, and on my favorite soul, he does not have currently have a lot of options for killing undead, or killing things in general. So
I think it's a general rule of thumb that if something heals the living, that it hurts the dead. So if Renew's damaging undead or the beacon sprays damaging undead, I think it's working.
I think the issue is more along the lines of you can throw it at things you don't want it to throw at, right? You have an undead target and you want to heal yourself and you heal them instead.
Yeah.
That's always annoying, but I can certainly see an argument for turning off undead targeting on things like Renewal, Cocoon, Lay on Hands would be another one that kind of strikes me as something that does it really need to have that? No. Like if you're using those to kill undead, I feel like you've
You hit it
overlooked other
low.
options. But, let's see. Update 45 patch 3 was released March 4th this week. Source for core enhancements that increase caster levels of particular elements now affect alchemist damage spells. Cross-classing options. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. A
It
bunch of stuff.
turned really powerful.
A bunch of stuff in Knight of Chalice now requires the correct number of paladin levels based on the tier in the tree. I think because they move stuff around, that didn't happen. Master of Spell Vials feat now works correctly. Probably the big reason why this came out, the Sentient Gem of the Dragon can no longer be sold. It now also displays its name and XP on the items it is equipped to. So yay. It's weird that like that one wasn't doing that. But I don't know how code works exactly, but I would think it'd be like copy paste. Has all the properties of the other ones. What happened?
I think there was a random issue of this happening before. I remember this there was gems before that had this issue.
Sure.
I think maybe copying and pasting was part of the problem.
Oh, maybe. That's true. And the last release note: Alchemist trainers no longer sometimes turn into the wrong class trainer after offering tips.
The good old switcheroo. You go in for a butterfly tattoo, and now you got like Betty White on your back. You go in to try to become a level 12 alchemist, and all of a sudden you're an 11 alchemist, one artificer.
I mean, I had someone in my hardcore party almost like went up to and started talking to the wrong trainer out of autopilot.
Yeah, I almost
Didn't take
did
the
that a
level,
couple
but
times.
yeah. All right. So let's talk about the news that came out of PAX East. So there's a couple of ways this came. I believe it was Druidfire had the Q&A video, which was at the meetup on Friday at PAX East, which we will talk about first. So a couple things that came out of this. They had previously told us that we were going to be going beyond level 30. The conversation that happened with this QA and later, what this is going to look like is it's going to be starting at level 31, going all the way to level 40, which means it's actual levels that we're talking about. Coco Majobo jumped in on the forums and he'd just like to highlight a very important part of the quote from Severlin that he sees being overlooked in a lot of comments. The plan is to raise the level cap to 40. That is not a plan that will be completed all in one go with the release of the Feywild expansion in 2020. The path to 40 is one that is planned out over the course of years in several smaller level cap installments, with time to fill out each level bracket more substantially than was done in the 20 to 30 level bracket originally. The release of Feywild expansion will contain the first modest level cap increase on the path to level 40. It will not, however, be the last. Also, in addition, he would like to reiterate that in this year's long plan, our goal is not to increase the amount of XP required to complete any of the current reincarnation types. I'd like to point out he used the word current.
Yes.
That's not slightly scary at all.
Oh, they have a plan. I threw some suggestions and someone told me like, no, that that sounds great, but I think they already have their plan out, and I'm like, oh wow, they this expansion's pretty already well thought out supposedly.
Sure. Yeah, they're. I think they're plugging away at it pretty hard. So, then he also says, again, we understand that raising the level cap is a sensitive topic as it has many potential pitfalls. We are approaching it in a manner that we believe will avoid many of those pitfalls and mitigate others. Cool. I mean, he's saying all the right stuff. We'll see how well it lands. Right. That's always going to be kind of a trick. So, we will also talk about MMO Central interviewed Severlin in a video. And in that, he did kind of indicate that 30 to 40 will kind of be a new, quote, cycle. I assume that will just be legendary. Seems like the obvious choice based on what we're already doing. But we'll kind of see what goes into that. It will be interesting to see if they release anything if like they add a new like heroic, epic, legendary tab in the quest portal to go into a quest. Like, could we conceivably get quests that you can go in heroics, in epics, and in legendary, like in 3 different phases of the game? That could be interesting.
Well, that would be very smart actually, because like that would be well, not tripling, but adding 1/3 of their content adding onto itself.
Well,
You know, that's
maybe and
like,
maybe not. They have said before that taking something that's just in heroic and making it an epic version is about as much work as just making something new for both at the same time. So we'll see. I mean, who knows?
just make everything invisible, Abishai, on legendary.
Yeah, that's what we need. Have you had the problem? I've had this happen to me a couple of times in Temple of Vol in the Orchard. That some of the weeps are just like locked invisible.
Yes, it killed so many people so many times, and and they're invulnerable while they're invisible. Like
Yeah,
or no,
I
they're
think you can kill them. You just have to be able to hit them, and it's kind of tricky.
yeah, like I remember it being a really tough. It was very tough,
Yeah,
or it might have been a champion because it was in
I've
Temple of
definitely
Vault.
had that. Like I've gotten the poison dot from Soul of Cruelty or Demon Soul or whatever, and that sucks. Like, what is giving this to me? I'm dead because of this. What weep? There's no weeps around here.
I
What is
noticed
going on?
some drow like do this perma stealth thing sometimes, or I can't
Interesting.
remember in what quest, but sometimes they can make other things invisible too, and it was just weird.
Yeah.
You could kind of see them, kind of not. It was, I don't know.
So going back to the PAX East QA video, they said Feywild. They're kind of looking at it being 2, maybe 3 levels. It kind of depends on where some of that stuff is going to be. How much content they're going to have and where they feel comfortable landing. I would guess 2, and then maybe they'll give us 3 later, or maybe they give us the third one earlier or
I
something. I don't know. We'll see.
I threw out. Is it going to be similar to like how Menace of the Underdark and Up went, and I heard the word, yeah, kinda. So it's
Well,
just like I think, yeah, they're just gonna unravel it more slowly than they did when they did epics, right? Because didn't we get like
yeah.
4 or 6 epic levels like right off the
We
bat?
went to 25 with Menace of the Underdark, and at the time there were no quests over level 20. There was epic, and they kind of reworked all of those to give them levels, but there also wasn't a lot of epic content at the time. You look at where we are now, and they're actually in a lot better place going into raising the level cap now than they were when we were at 20, because
Yeah.
Ravenloft, Sharn, are all over level 30. So there's actually quite a bit of content in that level range. Uh, Also, there's going to be some interesting things kind of ancillary to this, because if you think about how Reaper XP works, you get more. Your Reaper XP doubles when you're above level 30 in a quest. So we're talking about getting a lot more avenues for Reaper XP here, and having a lot more quests to run that are going to be above level 30. And unless they change the Reaper XP formula, which I kind of feel like they shouldn't, maybe reduce. Maybe I could see reduce the bonus to like 1.5. But the bonus is doing the intended work of keeping people from just getting all their XP in low level heroics.
That would give a lot of people who are pretty low to catch up with those people
Right?
who've been at it
Yeah.
for a while, which is
So
nice. It just feels like sometimes when you do that, like it speeds up the redundancy of a system, right? The
well,
Reaper system's been out for
yeah.
over 3 years,
Has
and
it been
if
that long? Wow.
uh, yeah, I think so.
Cool.
And when you add so much Reaper XP, and eventually, like, it's smart to keep the rat wheel going sometimes, because that's the whole point, right? So if you add more Reaper XP, people fill out their trees, and then what's next? Add
Huh.
more trees, or
That'd be an option.
or add a new system, like you can run.
Reaper reincarnation.
Yeah, Reaper. If Reaper's so good, why isn't there a number 2? Yeah, we just released it. Update 60, Reaper 2, Bob Saget edition.
But anyways, that'll be some interesting stuff to see how it plays out. None of that was talked about in any of this stuff, but ramifications. Let's see some stuff about Feywild. They said it will be colorful. There will be new monsters, raids. Severlin did say in the video with MMO Central that they had something like 3 or 4 raid ideas, and they were just kind of trying to figure out where they wanted to land on which ones they wanted to do. We're talking about new landscapes, including a castle area. Uh, he talked about redesigning kind of the worlds, like what trees look like, what the skybox looks like to make Feywild look different, really different.
I
And they
think I think for the Demon Web was like that too. They
sure,
made
yeah,
specific stuff just for the Demon Web.
to make sense, it's a different plane, right?
Yeah.
Um, Also, they showed a picture of unicorns, or a unicorn. So unicorns are coming. Uh, I have heard a couple people respond to this say, "Well, they didn't say unicorn mounts," and my response to that is, "Come on." Like,
Actually,
they're going to sell unicorn mounts. You know
not
they are.
not to put anyone out, but this Wednesday live stream, I reported this on my little Nim notes thing I do on my guild site. Cordovan did say the word unicorn mount. I don't know if it was a slip up or what, but he did say mount.
I mean, look, if you look at what they've been doing recently, and with expansions, right? Let's just assume that the expansion is going to follow the same general model, right? 3 tiers. You know that unicorn mounts are going to be in the third tier, if not the second highest tier, right?
Yeah, I'll
Like,
give you a unicorn for 130. Come on.
it's going to be in there. Like, why would it not be? It's an
It,
opportunity for them to make money, and they will make money on it. And I mean, they should. That's the point the of the game, right? Is to make money, to keep making money, to keep the game going. But
what if this is like something crazy like, oh yeah, unicorn mounts are coming, but then it's not part of the bundles, right? And it's one that you can just get for being the Feywild, and then the one you get in the bundle is way sicker.
I'm sure there will be multiple unicorns available, at least in multiple colors, right?
I want to try corn. No.
Interesting.
Well,
Uh,
you like really when you get down to it, when in the mount discussion of I wants, there's an endless list, right? Like
I heard
people
Pegasus.
want,
Someone mentioned Pegasus at one point. I don't
yeah,
remember what context they'd like to see Pegasus, although it probably wouldn't fly. Uh,
yeah, it just has like wings hanging out.
of course, ever since they said Isle of Dread, I've been thinking halflings riding T Rexes. I mean,
It makes sense with Talenta Plains too.
who doesn't want to ride a T Rex as a halfling, right?
Hell
Anyways,
yeah.
so that's some stuff that they talked about. Feywild, server merging. So this was brought up, and this was really interesting. I thought Severlin talked rather freely about this. So what they're looking at doing here is instead of merging servers, they want to create new. He kind of suitably called them mega servers. So what they're looking at is instead of consolidating people into existing servers, people would get free transfers to new, bigger servers. Uh, which would this does a couple of things for them. One, it frees up names, right? So there's kind of a problem if people go from one server to another server and their name is taken, particularly by someone who doesn't play anymore. That's an issue. So the idea that they could go send you to uh, a new server, and we can all be on equal footing to fight over those names, is a thing. I mean, there's still some pitfalls there because people might go in and try to grab other people's names. That would be kind of lame and funky. But there you go. There are some. He also kind of indicated that the idea is that you wouldn't keep playing on the old servers. It sounded like they would stay up. With the idea that you're not going to keep playing on them, but they'll stay up so you can get there. You can get around to moving your character later. I'm not sure what exactly that would entail exactly. I would say the big pitfall I would see there is they might need to turn off daily dice on those servers, or we could just keep rolling daily dice and keep transferring free stuff over for free. So that might be something that they need to do and to figure out.
You ruined my racket.
I mean, I'm doing that right now. I've been
Yeah.
so I've been rolling gold rolls on all the servers, mostly just to have the stuff and to see if I can build stuff up that's worth transferring a character over, but also in the hopes that one day that there would be some server consolidation of some kind. And I've definitely did on hardcore last season. We were all talking about that. So some holdups with this. They need to figure out some tech stuff. We talked about this earlier, like they're doing some engineering work. One is they need to make sure servers can handle it. They did mention in the other video that there was they were kind of able to look at the hardcore server as kind of a I don't want to say a testing ground, but a metric. They were able to kind of look at it and say, hey, look, uh, the hardcore population peaks a lot higher than the other servers because anyone from any of the servers is playing on this one server, right? So they're able to say that yes, the servers, this server is handling that load. So that's a good thing. They could always put in caps. I mean, I don't think a lot of people know this or experience this, but there is technically a population cap on all the servers, and they can force you into a queue to get into the game. So they could do that, but I don't know if they're going to or not. But that is a thing. We just don't ever really hit it. So, other things. Transferring guilds. This is kind of a big thing because right now your guild doesn't travel with you across the server, and people have invested a lot of time and energy into their guild. Starting everyone over at guild level 1 with no airship and none of the stuff they spent shards on, that's a problem. That is not going to go over well. So they need to figure that out. He didn't talk about this stuff specifically, but there's also some stuff character-wise that I'm hoping that they're really kind of cognizant of that don't transfer over. Your monster manual credit doesn't transfer over, which I'm kind of on the fence on, because if you went to a new server, you would lose all the benefit. Like the main benefit you would lose is being able to see hit points of monsters, but you could earn all those rewards again, which isn't a bad thing.
Your pet corral would be bothersome for me. My little pet scarecrow,
yeah,
is my mascot for my channel.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot, like the pets, like you said, that's a big thing. Account unlocks on a server, right? There are a lot of people that don't have 32-point builds; they just get it with a favor. Do they have to redo that? Again, I think it's a lesser problem than that. That's not a huge thing to overcome. Artificer, Favored Soul, or some other Drow are all things that unlock with favor. Are they hard to unlock with favor? No, not really, but people did the work. Do we make them do it again? Question mark. So that's all kind of stuff that they need to figure out how to do before we can really open this up. So hopefully they kind of take care of all of that. Also, astral shards. Your astral shards on the server don't transfer.
Yeah, they release a fact. I know that they're cognizant of it because at the end of season 1 of Hardcore League, they actually release a character transfer fact. So I know at least 1.5 employees has went through those rules and typed up the rules and can bring it up in the meeting.
Yeah, but that's all stuff that
fingers
needs to be
crossed.
Figured out. Yeah. But I certainly like the concept a lot better than the merging to a new server, to an existing server idea.
At first I was Sirlona for life, right? Like I never really cared, but going to Hardcore League, it's nice meeting fresh people sometimes. Like you know, it's like you kind of get that aroma of what it was like to get to know your server in the first place. Like, oh, who's this person? Who's that person? And eventually it just becomes this dirty old town where everyone knows each other.
Yeah, I'd love to consolidate. There's some servers that would be fantastic. People on other servers would be fantastic to play with more. The Damsels, Drac, people that have been on the show a lot, right?
It would be cool to get all us content creators in one server. I think we can do some really amazing cross streams.
Sure. There's obviously some question about how many servers are we talking about? What are the rules for transferring, right? Like it could be, here's 3. These servers can transfer for free to this server. These 3 can transfer to this server. So it may not be a free for all. And I don't necessarily want it to be that way, but I'm not sure that it's smart to not do it that way, because the players, like if the players all organize and say, "Hey, we're all going to the same server," that could be problematic in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. We'll see what the news is coming out of there. Maybe I'll try to put in a good word. Say, hey, merge these three together.
Yeah.
These are the
Let's put High Lords and Lava Divers as neighbors.
I think it'd be fun.
That would be great.
So, let's see. Other stuff they talked about. Personal housing. They talked about personal housing a little bit. So player specific servers or the servers housing. So the short answer was they would love to, but they are cognizant of the fact that guild airships take up a lot of data, and they would need to implement this in a way that the server can support. So,
I have an idea.
Ooh.
You know how there's a PvP system that no one uses?
Okay.
If we just take it out, because it's not just going into the pit. You can one-on-one challenge someone and go, and there's random PvP maps that are just like floating in the ether, right? When you that it loads you up,
Sure.
and it's a whole new instance. Get rid of that. Maybe that'll help with a little room, and then give us like a little shoebox apartment, Sharn.
Sure.
All it needs is a bed for aesthetics and a extra storage unit. That's all we want is an extra storage unit and maybe a place to put a plant and say, hey, I earned that plant by fighting like 15 dragons in this challenge.
Yeah. Someone I think it's Druid Fire in the chat is saying that in Lotro, when they went through consolidation, all the decommissioned servers were turned off, so you couldn't log in. Just transfer your character through the launcher. There's an issue with that, because we have reincarnation cache and shared bank that currently don't transfer. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna turn off the server, people need to be able to have that stuff come with them, because there will be people that will come back later and say, "Hey, I want to transfer my stuff off of this server."
So coincidentally, they're working on it, right? Which means they're also working on the tech that will allow for mega servers. Because if once they figure this out with the consolidation, how to transfer Astral Shards and your character and your shared bank, the next is guild, and the next is mega servers, and then all of a sudden, we'll be in a utopia of unisonity. That was an over exaggeration. Sorry.
I can say that I would probably be of the mind of turning on my video software and going through my stuff and just, documenting what I have to take over, so in case something feels lost, I can go back and check and say, "Hey, this didn't transfer over like it was supposed to." So
I think the things that I don't want lost are so important to me that I would remember it. Like honestly, if I lose some
yeah.
like raid loot or whatever, I'm like, okay, I can re-earn it with new friends. That's great. Or I'm gonna be level 34 soon. This gear is gonna be like whatever level. It's gonna be gear I use to grind to get the new end gear. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's like whatever.
Yeah, but there's certain things that I would like to not see disappear for various reasons.
Same,
But
same. Like I'm like quiver of all. If you have like really cool personal like +2 Reaper stat homes and stuff, yeah, keep that documented. But I don't think I'm gonna take a meticulous list.
sure.
I if it's important to me, I know like quiver alacrity. I like, oh, that's missing pill lavender ironstone. I'm like, hey, I had one of these. Like, but everything can be a majority of the gear can be regained, and it will bring life back in the game. Just re-grinding gear with new people in a mega server.
Let's see. The last thing that was talked about in the QA video was guilds. Several kind of talked about was asked and talked about what ideas they have for guilds. And kind of what he talked about was they would love to expand what guilds can do, both in both games. Specifically, he was talking about having events or things that a whole guild can work on together and have kind of a shared experience in their guild. which led to my favorite part of the video, where someone asked or posed the question slash idea of guild reincarnation. To which several then said, "I like that idea," and another SSG employer, I think his name was Red Panda, uh, basically like he didn't faint, but I don't think he was very far off off of the idea of basically saying that's a really strong maybe. That's got to be a conversation. I think his world just exploded, kind of reaction. Um, but it's interesting. I like the idea of guilds having something to work on. The chat says that Bread Panda is very fond of the word maybe, drawn out very long. Uh, but I mean, there's an interesting idea there, interesting concept.
What would a guild past life be for a guild? Like a multiplier
Sure.
to the amount of buffs you get?
The first thing that I thought of was increasing the length of time the buffs last. I
I
think
was
there's an
thinking
issue here
strength.
that I don't think, like, you wouldn't want it to be you lose all of your ship buffs until you re-earn them back, right? Like that doesn't work for me. Um, I think really what I think it gets to is, let's maybe another system that allows you to keep earning guild renown, in a way that is very long term beneficial. Because once you hit 200, what's the point in guild renown anymore? It doesn't have any. There's no there's no process or mechanic to encourage players to work on their guild through guild renown. So
I
solving
was.
that question is kind of, I think, the crux of the idea.
You remember the old Kenneth system when it was like arcane, divine, and like the other thing, and you had to level each one? I was thinking something
Sure.
like that. Like, what if they broke it down where there's renown, popularity. You know what I mean? Like, a
Oh,
guild is an
sure.
organization, so like, eh, um, and you can just like do different things, or have to level it up with different things. Like maybe instead of a guild renown, it's like a guild reputation that drops, and you level up another meter to get other benefits, and that's how we can finally fill out our cargo hold, or not our cargo hold, but like there's some
Right.
layers
Yeah.
of ship that I can't fill out in the big one.
You
But
don't have enough stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
I think there's
well,
definitely an interesting idea there in, if you got guild renown, even if it's just generic, and then spent that guild renown, kind of like we do with karma, so that it's separate from, or maybe you only can do it once you hit level 200. You can bank renown and then spend that on amenities and things like that. There's some interesting ideas there. Um, we'll see. I like the idea of guilds having one, just kind of a reason to take renown, or just like having a shared experience to, or something to work towards. I liked that idea. Were you around when they did the raid quote flagging for Hound of Zoriat and Vision of Destruction?
no, I didn't even know they were flaggings for that at one point.
So what it was it was server based. So the server as a whole had to go and get pieces from the existing raids at the time and then turn them in. Uh, and I think, if I remember correctly, they didn't include Titan or Abbott in this. But the server as a whole had to run the other raids like Dragon, Demon Queen. I think Shroud was Shroud, Reaver's Fate. I think those were all part of it. And you had to run each of the raids, I think, a certain number of times. The details are a little fuzzy, but basically the server as a whole had to unlock it, and that was really fun. Um, Especially, it kind of made a little bit of a server competition, to which the devs were even getting involved. I distinctly remember a picture of one dev accusing another dev server of using backhoes to to expedite the process. Um, but that was really fun. So I think that was really what I immediately thought of having this shared experience and kind of working towards a common goal. Um, as being kind of an interesting thing, and adding a layer to the game that was fun and interesting.
I think that's possible though, because like it shows hardcore is a show that they're willing to actually, like, before it wasn't super competitive, it was really grind based, but now they're showing that they don't mind adding a tad of competition in the game, right, with the
Sure,
leaderboard.
some people love it.
So yeah, so I think they're looking at that as an avenue of entertainment
Mhm.
flavor for the game, just step their toe in it. I think that would be kind of fun to see some guild v guild kind of thing, because really, like, the only unique guild staple mark in game is like that fountain in the harbor, like that only those people have their guild names immortalized. Like, it would be cool to find another way to have a billboard that says, hey, High Lords of Malkir like is doing pretty good right now.
There could be some interesting things there. I don't mind a little bit of competition. Um, my concern there would that it would need to be something that resets every once in a while, on a regular time frame, so that people who come in later can't, or could have a chance to catch up and get on the lead or a new season or something. I don't know. Lots of ways they could go, but I like the general idea of here's something for the guild to have a shared experience to work towards. Because that was a lot of fun, especially when you get to like level 190, right? Like, all right, guys, let's buckle down. Let's get these last couple levels, kind of a thing, for some guilds, anyways. Okay, let's move on. We've touched on a few things, but we'll move on to MMO Central's interview with Severlin. They talked about the database work. So Lotro did some database updating. It doesn't sound like DDO has really maybe even started that database work. Um, so there's still some work coming. They do not project it as being taking as long as Lotro did, partly because they learned things from Lotro. Hey, thanks guys for being the guinea pigs. So that should they've kind of ironed out the process a little bit. Is kind of what he's talking about. We talked a little bit about Alchemist. One of the reasons why they went with Alchemist is they liked that it was a very different caster style. Um, I've kind of been thinking about it in terms of like it's the monk of casters, because you essentially like you stack up these moves or spells to begin with, and then you get like kind of a finishing move aspect to it. It's like,
Yeah, that's how I've been thinking about them.
yeah. Um, there was a question they raised about accessibility concerns about Alchemist because it's very color coded, uh, and they intentionally made the symbols different shapes to mitigate that as a problem. I haven't paid too much attention to it, but it seems like that's working.
Yeah, I like that the colors and the symbols are
Mm-hmm.
pretty unique to themselves. This allows people who are like colorblind to know, like, there's one that's like a triangle, one that's like a square, and one's a circle, right? And when you're in that reaction between the two, the reaction symbol is the combination of the two circles. So it might be like a circle within a triangle, or
Sure.
a box in a circle, or whatever. And I thought that is awesome that they're taking their time to think of people with those kind of disabilities when they add features that are
Mm-hmm.
based off of color or sight.
Let's see. They talked a little bit about the hardcore server. I said we'd talk about this later, and the change of the vendor to Eritricos instead of Mortality. Uh, Sutherland basically said that this is to indicate a new or different environment. Specifically, in this case, on Hardcore Season 2, the champions are all different. And they're actually based on like the Nine Hells, I think. It's Aerotricos is related to kind of the theme, if you as it were. Um I'm not a super lore person, so I don't really know exactly. Uh, but it has to do with kind of the Shavarath ish theme, something to that effect.
Yeah,
Which,
there's some Eberron Planner references and some general D&D hell references in their names.
and I will say they intentionally did not tell us that they changed the champions for hardcore, and it almost got me killed. Because I was like, hey, wait, that was a new champion. And I saw, no, yeah, that is a new champion. And then I tried to like figure out what its buffs were, and then something came up and whacked me from behind while I was doing that.
Yeah, no, it took me a while. I didn't examine them, but like I kind of like, well, I'll know when they hit me, and I know when I hit them what kind of buffs
Sure.
matter to me. Because I wasn't an insta-killer, so I didn't need to know if they had Death Ward. I just need
Right.
to know if I'm going to do full damage and if they're going to do... Oh, I almost got KO'd by a Meteor Swarm from a champion that had poison dots on it in Search and Rescue. It was a Shaman Kobold. Meteor Swarmy, fire, blunt, poison damage. Whoa.
I haven't seen too many dots from them though. There's some elemental dots, but I haven't seen like a poison dot or anything like that. They do poison damage, but not a dot that I've seen. So
I hadn't seen a dot. And I think that's intentional because I think that
yeah,
would be cruel for those who are going to
it was
Reaper.
cruel. It was cruel. uh, yeah, there definitely seems to be less dangerous this time around. But I like the idea of changing up the champions every once in a while. I kind of hope that they migrate that over to the live servers as well.
Another thing I wish they would uh, kind of do is change the host. Like I like that it's Eritrico's this time. It would be cool if next season it's the Yalthun or whatever from Harbinger of
Sure,
Madness or
that
the
could be
Dreaming
interesting.
Dark Quarry.
Um, so several did say that it's not necessarily going to be a different vendor, like that's going to be different every season. Um, he did indicate that there may be a Fey version with the Feywild coming, which also kind of gives you an idea of what timing they're thinking of. Which it does sound like twice a year, 3 months on, 3 months off seems to be the direction they're kind of looking at continuing.
Yeah,
Um,
and it would be kind of cool because like the lore of the Feywild is that there's like two... it's pretty much like wild emotional, right?
mhm.
You know, one thing could be happy and then all of a sudden it will sway into angry and then depressed. But there's two organizations really, if you big ones, the silly and unsilly court, which is like the good and then the bad fate. But that the term's relative because they are both mischief, and a bad fate can end up treating you as good as a good fate if the circumstances pleases it. But so like you get this idea that we're probably gonna get a really fun fairy creature villain in this expansion that,
Sure.
you know, it would be fun to get gifts from a leprechaun or something.
Some other things they talked about was the 64-bit client. Um, Someone kind of talked about how there's a lot of code that's kind of based on 13-year-old machines, and the 64-bit client helps players more fully utilize their machines in the current world, which is great. It also has allowed them to track some lag issues. And he kind of talked a little bit about two things that they're looking at right now, um, which I believe, and forgive me for being not a technical person, but kind of revolved around a hang up on the client getting updates from the database or kind of an info dump scenario where the client is receiving a bunch of info at the same time and having to process it and doing that more slowly. So that's kind of some stuff that they're looking at there.
They had a data center issue recently.
Yeah. The game and the forums crashed for I think it was like 30 minutes,
Yeah.
and I know that
And
that some people perished in this time frame on hardcore.
yeah, there was some really funny LFMs after that. I was lucky to be in a public zone in Giant Hole during that time.
Sure. Uh, I was lucky to have logged off for the night. A few, maybe 15, 20 minutes before it happened.
That is lucky.
Although there may be some issues there because there are some quests that I did on hardcore that I no longer have credit for. Um, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. Uh, so
Is that something that they would accept a ticket for in hardcore? Because
I
like
put a ticket
most...
in, but I haven't gotten a response. And actually, the last time when I looked before I logged off, I couldn't even open the help panel. So I don't know.
Yeah, they're probably getting a lot of like, "Hey, I died in hardcore." Like, they already
Probably.
tell you in the rules if you die, they ain't helping us. But like
Yeah.
stuff like that sounds like that, they should be able to help you with, because that's not technically you being revived. The whole thing is you're dead, you're dead.
Yep.
That's the number one rule.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I'm not super concerned about it. Uh, I mean, it was only like 50 favor, so it's not hard to get back. It's just kind of more annoying to see these 4 quests that I did, and me and another person in my group don't have a completion for it, and the third person in our group does. Just makes it even more kind of weird. Um, but you know, if we're short that 50 favor, I'm not worried about getting it to hit 5,000, and I'm not super concerned about being on the leaderboards. I've hardly even checked the leaderboards this season. That novelty kind of wore off from the first season. So
My goal was just to get to 20, and then I died in TOE Part 1, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, it's super hard." And like then I blew a fire under. Like there's just multiple things that just got me. And then I caught up with my partner. I'm like, "Hey, what's your goal?" And he's like, "I want to hit high in the board." And I'm like, "Okay, let's do it."
sure. Um, it has been fun to see the death messages though, to see how people have died, and
I like the new change.
that's
Now
kind
we
of
know
fun.
how.
Yeah. Let's see other stuff. He did several and also said that the summer update features a new storyline that will lead us into the Feywild expansion pack, which will include new dungeons, and haven't really decided which new raid to add. There's also was discussion about in the producer's letter they talked about giving legendary versions of classic raids, and Severlin basically said that they haven't decided which ones specifically, mostly because it kind of revolves around this idea that when they start doing that work and kind of looking under the hood at some of that stuff, some of them may have some features or some code or some cheats that really kind of make that work more of a pain and more time consuming than they can afford to have on that time. So it might change kind of what gets uh that treatment. We'll see what happens. Uh, that's one of the reasons why he said that they didn't get into too many specifics with that. All right, there you go. That's the news from PAX East. Anything else you want to say about some of that stuff?
That was a lot of good stuff.
Mm-hmm. I would say out of all of that, the thing that I'm most excited about is this idea of a mega server or mega servers consolidation.
I am interested in the like me, I'm a lore
Yeah.
junkie. And I'm my okay, here we go.
Uh-oh.
So Eberron has its own Fey plane called Thelanis, right? And so the fact that we're getting a Feywild expansion is interesting, which it's interesting because the last expansion was Sharn, and the expansion before that was Ravenloft. Ravenloft is generic; it can touch. It's actually technically after fourth edition part of Shadowfell, which is interesting because the expansion before that was Shadowfell Conspiracy, and we got all that because we entered in Evening Star with the last and Forgotten Realms because of that expansion. So this is an expansion that technically fits more with Forgotten Realms. The Sharn expansion is the only expansion lore-wise that's connected to Eberron. So we're kind of going into this plane that touches generically all of DDO's cosmos, but because of the how Eberron was created, it's protected by the Cerberus ring. So it has its own planes of existence that kind of are like orbiting planets that become conterminous with the main prime material. And it's very interesting that after getting an Eberron expansion, that they would choose the Feywild over Thelanis, which is basically the same thing, but they are in fact different planes.
All right. Well, with that, let's talk about finish up the bonus days and store news stuff. DDO bonus days brings you double mysterious remnants through March 8th. Twice the chance for remnants to appear. Also, this is the last day that you can run the anniversary dungeon. So if you want to do that, better get on your horse. There's a lot of farming to do. Um, Hopefully, you're done with that. Store news. Advance your alt to get 25% off of Tomes of Learning. Select low level adventures, +2 ability tomes, character slots, now through March 12th. The weekly coupon code. This is a pretty nice one. 5 free small jewels of fortune with the coupon code Small Fortune. That's pretty cool. It's pretty nice. So one of the better ones in a long while, I think. I'm gonna hazard a guess and say that next week's coupon code is gonna be for green hair dye.
Oh yeah.
That's my guess. All right, let's talk about community news. We got 2 chronicles to get through. The 372nd chronicle. This is from 2 weeks ago. The lava divers on Kyber set a new world first with the Reaper 10 skull completion of Temple of Deathworm. That was my guild.
Nice.
It was a lot of fun. Easier than I expected it to be for the most part. But the only place we really had trouble with was the combat room because it was difficult to kill stuff faster than it was spawning, and then there was some lag issues which made getting the little buff to drop the shield around the phylactery hard to kind of manage. But we got through it. Let's see. Psycho Blonde created a list of the most active DDO streamers on Twitch, so you can check that out. The guild for the week. Group on Galanda is working to get a raid party together this weekend for Caught in the Web. Well, if you're looking for that, too late. Comment for the week. Describe the difference between lesser crispy, greater crispy, and extra crispy. We're talking about in terms of damage being dealt or damage being taken. I feel like either
Yeah.
way, the answer is the amount of damage.
Well, if I take it literally, it would probably be moisture. The less,
Sure.
but yeah, it would definitely be or really, it would be what you rolled on your save. That would be the main difference.
Okay.
High, low, or critical failure 1. I think that would be the most crispy.
Sure. Fan site news. Les and Patrick discussed season 2. That was our last DDOCast episode of Hardcore League. So that was our last DDOCast. DDO players news got snacky. DDO stream is your first stop to find DDO on Twitch. You can check out recent shows by Psycho Blonde, Baklagor, and Doug Glendower. Also on Twitch, OMG Koof played an Alchemist, Butch DDO fought Reapers, and Picard65 played for free. And on YouTube, you can check out Joyson playing on Kyber. Demetrius had his first affiliate stream, and Critical Role ran dungeons. Let's see, other stuff. Pretty much covers the 372nd, the 373rd Chronicle. Druid's Fire at MMO Central recorded last week's chat, which is what we were talking about. So if you want to check that out, you can go through the Chronicle there. Players are trying to hit hardcore season 2 milestones. Congrats to Targle for getting a Deathwalker's Cloak 2, and congrats Sparks 1 for hitting 5k favor. So that was pretty awesome. Well done, guys. Toxicoma, one of your friends, is one of the regular DDO streamers on Mixer. You can check out his channel as well. Hey, player spotlight. This is not intentional, but Nimvind Dirgesinger is preparing for an upcoming YouTube series exploring all of Sharn in a funny noir-themed storyline. You have a teaser featuring a private inquisitive on the tale of Vault and his nefarious doings in the City of Towers.
I guess it's supposed to mean Vaunt because that's the main villain of Sharn, right?
Yeah, seems like a typo. You want to talk any more about that?
Yeah. So I did Nimvin does Ravenloft, which is a series showing people Ravenloft because I noticed a lot of people were having a hard time getting around the castle and stuff. So I was like, I'll just do a guide. And then I noticed that people were getting lost in the cogs, and I decided to do a video series. But it was, you know, the kind of noir detective feel kept on coming out. So I just started like just telling people how to do quests in a kind of like if I was Dick Tracy kind of thing. And then it kind of unfolded into kind of a feeling of like a guide told to you by a character designed to go through this expansion if the expansion was a module. So like I'm playing Private Inquisitive PI Nimvin, and I'm going through cases that led me to this to Vaunt. And then there's a also the storyline actually has a some flashback moments where he's doing low tasks in the cogs, earning rep to be able to get higher jobs, better jobs. And then, and then it actually ends with me and Sharn Docs cleaning up the mess of Vaughn's technology left over after his death.
Yeah, so check that out on your YouTube page. Are you also going to be twitching that?
No, it's all pre-recorded. I
Okay.
actually have it all edited. I just have to
Ooh,
throw the intro and outro on it and release it, and I'll be releasing it pretty regularly.
nice. Let's see. The comment for this week: what is the best way to die on the hardcore server? I feel like we answered this last time, last hardcore season.
I think the best way to die now is from a kobold's concubine. You not even his wife. You got killed by his side girl.
Yeah, that's been a good one. My answer was in a blaze of glory, trying to complete Too Hot to Handle, but
That is a good one.
let's see. Fansite news. DDO Players News delved into the latest news from PAX East and more in their last episode. The Damsels of DDO ran Epic Dolaras. So you check out their last show. DDO Stream is your first stop to find DDO on Twitch. Brighter days ahead tonight, prepared for PAX. The Tao of Two dual boxed, and Doug Glendower celebrated the Bard life. On YouTube, Joyson Games on Kyber, Sector Alpha Gaming ran in Elf, and Samus Garoba starts again. I've been running into him a little bit on Hardcore. Let's see. Massively OP celebrated our 14th anniversary in style. You can check that out. Mickey's Delirium tracked her weekly rating, and then they remind us that it's the final weekend to run the anniversary event through March 8th, and there's still time to get your free anniversary gift. You have until the end of the year, a lot of time. And then Cordovan fought himself and answered questions on the latest weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream, so you can check that out as well.
That was really fun. Watching him do the anniversary event, and he gets to this room where he's in it. And he's beating on himself. He's like, "Yeah, we don't have any news on that." And I'm like, "Dude, this is violent. Stop him. He's hurting himself."
Let's see other stuff. D&D night on DDO stream Sundays 7 p.m. Eastern. Tonight's episode will be a recorded D&D Kasplat episode that we did a couple weeks ago. Let's see. But you can check out that on twitch.tv/DDO stream. Sundays 7 p.m. Eastern is when we do D&D night through Fantasy Grounds. Let's see. Tito Kasplat will be back June-ish. We'll say middle of June for now and see how that plays out. But we're taking our season break during baseball season to make my life less complicated. It is already complicated enough. Let's see. Other general gaming news. Hey, do you want to work for SSG? They're hiring an artist to work on DDO and Lotro. So that's an opportunity there for you. So that could be something maybe you might want to get into.
I know how to draw a mean stick figure.
I'm not even sure how much drawing is part of it, to be honest, because it's I'm sure you being able to draw would be part of the job, but you also need to be able to translate that into computer graphics. So
They
that'll be a
got
thing.
scanners and 4D printers.
I think I'd be better suited to being like a content creator.
Yeah, if I can get
But
paid to just sit in a box and yell out ideas, I would be so happy. Hire me ASAP, SSG.
yeah, right.
Even if I could just do like a voice acting gig, I would love it. Because like anyone who watches my stream knows I have a wide range of voices.
Sure. Let's see. Let's talk about some lightning posts. We got a few people writing in about a few different things. Coco Tanatoto said he can't wait until they at least make it so you can have improved precise shot and archers focus on it at the same time. I played range, so I don't have to press many buttons. I don't think that's ever going to happen. It just doesn't seem like something they would ever have an interest in doing. Because the point is to have a choice between the two. And take heart, because generally speaking, I find that archers tend to, at least for high play, I feel like they use less button pushes than most. But let's say that the more buttons you can get good at pushing in any class or build type, the more effective you will be at it, probably. So
Yeah, pick up an instrument. If you have a hard time keeping up with your keyboard with all 10 of your fingers, pick up like the saxophone or piano, and it gets you acclimated to using your whole body, or at least your whole hand.
or they make gaming keyboards that are kind of more ergonomic for stuff. Um,
Also, this game is also compatible with game controllers and game pads. I have my
sure.
partner, he plays with like a analog stick with some buttons on it.
I've heard of people playing using like Xbox controllers and stuff. So there's
Yeah.
there's ways to do it. Let's see. Uh, DJ Tazi Jeff wrote in. So I was talking about kind of our. I had worked with a sheriff who's been running with me on hardcore, and we were trying to come up with an ideal trapper or a trapper build for hardcore. Uh, Tazi Jeff pointed out that there's a problem with what we were doing because uh, one of the enhancements that we had kind of eyed turns off evasion, which was a good point.
Wait, what?
So the build that we came up with was like 5 artificer, 2 barbarian, and then the rest rogue, or at least like 10. The key parts were 10 rogue for improved evasion, 5 artificer so you could get tier 5 renegade master
Oh
maker.
yeah, that turns off evasion
Yeah,
and animal forms, I believe.
yes, it does, but it does still have the radiant force field clicky in it, so that's still helpful. And then 2 levels of barbarian, which gives you a faster run speed and the hit point clicky from blood tribute. The idea being to make what we're trying to do is make a trapper that is more survivable than your normal trapper, um, because you only get to die once, and on hardcore, if you're the trapper and you last long enough, you will run through traps enough that you will roll a 1 on a save to get through a
That
trap.
we had this discussion with Shrimp Tom, evasion
Yeah.
versus mitigation. Go mitigation all the way, because not only does it apply to that slashing trap, if you have MRR, that fire trap, it applies to the damaging coming from mobs and other places.
Yes.
Mitigation is the total. I mean, evasion is good, especially if you can get improved evasion, but like it's not going to protect you from everything. Just reflex
Nothing
save
will.
space stuff.
Nothing will. And that
But
was kind
like,
of what we were basing it off of is kind of biggest. And the build has actually been a pretty good success. He consistently has about 100 more hit points than most of the trappers that we end up running with that have pugged with us. So I feel like the build is the point was a very valid point and was definitely overlooked. But we're still liking the results of the build. So let's see. Fuzzy Duck 81 wrote in. He said he'd like to have seen access to hardcore via a special hardcore pass that would cost about half or even a third of the price of a regular VIP subscription, and have it grant all the benefits of VIP, but only on the hardcore server itself. Regular VIPs will get it as part of the package, but it would allow premium or free-to-play accounts to join in and check out the different quests and classes without needing so much initial investment, as well as being able to run with more experienced players who wouldn't be anywhere near as overpowered in comparison. Interesting idea. We kind of tossed around similar things last season as well. I'd be for it. I mean, I don't have any problems with some sort of a pass that would allow people to play on hardcore. I mean,
It,
you can just buy the 3-month VIP
that's what I was about to say.
too.
There is a
So,
pass out there. It's called a 1 month subscription.
well, I
You
think
know
what
what I
he was looking
mean?
for is something that's less than that. Although that doesn't cost a whole lot of money.
Yeah, isn't 1 month like $9.99? If you're gonna buy
I don't remember.
$8 worth of DDO points to get a pass, let's say if they make it so cheap that you can get it within 600 DDO points from a one-time purchase, you might as well like I don't know, wait a couple days to get $3 more to get a 1 month.
Yeah.
And you don't even need the whole 3 months to enjoy Hardcore League. I've
Mm-hmm.
died and came back in 6 days, and freaking I'm on the top 24 right now.
It depends
So
on how much
like,
time you have to spend in it, right?
yeah, I still 3 weeks should be like 30 days, 31 days, depending on what month you buy it on,
Sure.
should be enough for you to either give up, fail, or set it as a lower goal.
Yeah, the first season I got to 5,000 favor in about a month, and then the second month was getting to the 10 Reaper points. This time we've been going a lot slower. The timing of this is not convenient for me. The first month has been a very busy month for me.
I
So
believe that's the number one complaint of this season is the timing of the
sure.
season.
I mean, there's always gonna be people that it's a bad time for. So season 1 was great timing for me. Season 2, not. um, and yes, I agree with the chat. It was too soon. It was more time than I thought it had been, but it definitely I would still be fine with once a year for 3 months. That would be fine with me. Anyways, let's see. Fuzzy Duck continues, says he's less fussed about hardcore this time around. I'll probably still go for the level 20 and 1750 favor targets, and it's always nice to get another set of those first redemption per server bonuses from uh this is from various expansions. I think it's like from running favor is what he means by that. And it is.
uh,
I've probably
there's
spent
some
those points already, but
expansions. There's some expansions that do give more items to the first tune you claim the ticket on in each server.
oh, sure. Yeah, that's true as
Just
well.
like the ticket.
I see what he's talking about. Yep. I thought he was talking about the favor bonuses. First time
Those
server
two
bonuses.
are really nice.
They are. I am pretty confident that I will again, for the second season in a row, come out negative on the points that like I will spend more points than I have bought.
Rerolls are expensive. I've
Yeah,
used all the points I earned on rerolls, and I was trying to save it for a character slot to put my tune overs, so that way I have my trophy. Like that, the character I do the accomplishment is my trophy, and for that, he's like that's my stud, that's my stallion. You know what I mean? And
sure. You can still
I,
transfer it. You don't need a slot.
you know,
Nope. You cannot create a new character unless you have an open slot. But I currently have 26 out of 22 characters on one of the servers because that's where I transferred a bunch of those characters to, and you can still play them all. You just can't
well,
create a new character until you have an open slot, which means if I want to create a new character on that server, I need to delete 5 characters on it. So
well,
there
that
you
is
go.
good to know
Yeah.
because I'm gonna go buck wild.
All right. So with that, that'll round out the show here. Anything else you want to plug, sir?
You can find me on twitch.tv/Nimvind, also on Mixer as Nimvind Dirgesinger, YouTube as Nimvind Dirgesinger, and don't forget High Lords of Malkir is doing teaching raids and has public raids 5 times a week. You can find information on that in the Solona forums.
Well, thanks everyone for listening to the show. Thanks to Nimvind for joining me. And thanks to all the contributors for DDOcast, and to Standing Stone Games and Wizards of the Coast, and to Cyber Ears for hosting the podcast. If you would like to support the show, you can visit our website, DDOCast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. If you have a DDO-themed webpage or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, you can email us at DDOcast@gmail.com. And you can hit us up at DDOcast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff. And hey, if you'd like to be a part of the show, if you have a comment on this episode, a question you'd like to hear us answer, or a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or you just want to say hi, leave a comment or email us at DDOcast@gmail.com. And you can also find us on social media and follow us for the latest cast updates. I am at DDOcast on Twitter. You want to share your Twitter, Nimvind?
Yeah, I'm at Nimvind_Dirge.
Oh. All right. So until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.